Okay, gang, so here we are. We're in Module 4, and this is the third video. Now, in the second video, we talked about conditional statements, and I kind of touched on this elif. I said, we'll talk about that later. Well, here's the later. And elif is something special, and let me take a step back. The primary focus of this video is something that doesn't really exist structurally in the Python library, the Python language. But conceptually, I want you to understand how this works, because in other languages, that functionality is explicitly built into the libraries. So if you were in, let's say, C# or Java, C++, what we call a switch statement or a case statement exists. There's a library where we can have this structure. Now, in essence, what they are is a conditional. You check for a condition to be met. But in the if statement that we just looked at, it was a single conditional. If that condition is met, do this. And it's a single condition. In a case statement or a switch statement, we check to see if a condition is met, but it's not a single condition. It's essentially multiple conditions. So let's say, for example, I ask the user to enter their name. Now, let me back up. I got a better one than that. Ask the user to enter their grade for an exam. What was the score? What numeric grade did you get? Now, that's something that should be familiar to you, because you've taken classes where you take an exam, and depending on that numeric score, that'll tell you whether you got an A, a B, a C, or a D. Or it could apply to your score in a class to figure out what's your grade. So the user inputs some value between 0 and 100 in theory, but depending on whatever the circumstances, it may exceed 100. So in this example we see here, if color is mauve, well, instead of if color is mauve, saying color is mauve, we'll say color is whatever score they gave us for the course or for the exam. If what's in there is equivalent to, well, let's see. Let's look at this from the grade standpoint. I don't want to know if it's equivalent to red. I want to know, is the score less than, well, let's say 65. If it's less than 65, so if score is less than 65, that's the condition. If it is, print your grade is an F. Now, if elif score is less than 70 and greater than equivalent to 65, print your grade is a D. elif less than 80 and greater than equivalent to 60, or no, excuse me, 70, C. And we just work our way all the way up to, if it's greater than 90, greater than equivalent to 90, boom, then they got an A. Or we could just say, if you didn't fail, you didn't get a D, you didn't get a C, you didn't get a B, what's left? You got an A. That's that final else. That's whatever else is left once you reach the top of the food chain in grades. Now, the example they gave here is we're checking this color to see which one is it. Depending on the condition being met, a single statement will be output. Like I said, it's called a case statement, a switch statement. I like to call them a menu, based on whatever was input or whatever that single value was. We'll pick an item from a menu. A lot of times I'll use a switch statement or a case statement for an actual menu in my code and tell the user, pick which item you want to do. And I display a little menu. Item number 1 may be one function. Item number 2 will be another function. They pick that, takes them to another menu, or another, calls up a function, and there we go. We just run whatever that code is. Now, since we don't have that specific switch or case statement in Python, we literally have to manually do it with this logic. If, it's the first condition, if that condition is true, we do this. If it's true, none of the other things happen. If it's false, we come down to the next one. And in this next one, we check the next condition. If it's true, we do this, we don't do any of the others. But if it's false, we come down to the next one. So this is you manually creating that switch or case statement. Checking a single value against multiple conditions. And based on the one condition that is true, that's when something happens. The others would end up being false. So in this logic, we're looking for only one condition to be met. So that's our switch or case statement. Okay. We can have multiple comparisons, and I've talked about that up above. Where is it, up above or just below this? There they are. There's our comparisons. Now there's another symbol that we may have in here if I've got multiple comparisons, like I just noted in the grades. It's greater than something and less than or equal to. Those two comparisons, two conditions. So we would put one condition in parentheses. I'd put the word and. In some languages, I would put a symbol, double ampersands. May be able to use either or in a language. You just need to know for that language what the syntax is. Okay, so a parentheses could be and, could be or. If it's and, both conditions must be met. If it's or, either one can be true. Just be familiar with the logic behind those when using them. Okay? So, I will see you in the next lecture.